Hey guys, welcome back. It's Curdle. And so today we're going to be going over how to make a character that you can control. So, first thing, if you see this thing called main scene, all I did was say file, save scene, and it told me to put in a name. I put in a name and it plops it down my assets folder. So, before we get started, since I'm OCD, there's a couple things we have to do. You're going to create an empty game object, put it at 0, 0, 0, and you're going to call it geometry. And you're going to mark it as static, then take the cubes and the plane and drop it under geometry. Because that's just for all the static objects. Okay, you just have to do that. Now, I'm going to create another empty game object, and we're going to call it non-static objects. And we're going to put that at 0, 0, 0. And then we're going to put the sphere under it. There. And you do that by just dragging and dropping. Alright, so now we're going to say create 3D object sphere. And this is going to be our player. It's fine where it is, but we're going to rename it to player. Of course. And the next thing you're going to do is you're going to go to the sphere collider. You're going to take the little gear icon and select remove component. Then you're going to say add component, character controller. Basically what a character controller is it, it controls the character. It doesn't allow them to go above a 45-degree slope. You can only go up 0.3 meter high steps. I don't know what that is. Not totally sure what that is. And that's just the position it's at and the radius and height. Yeah. Alright, I'm back. I'm having Chinese food for dinner. Alright, so now that we have the character controller on it, I want to make the player red so we can see him better. So we're going to go right click, create folder. We're going to call it materials. Then we're going to double click on it, right click and say create material. And then we're going to call this player. We're not going to mess with any of these settings or the shader or anything. We're just going to set the smoothness to 0.25 and set the color to red. Like so. After you've done that, you'll just want to drag it and drop it on top of our player. And that'll make it red. And then we can change all these. We can make it super duper emissive if we want to. Or whatever. But we're not going to do any of that. So we're just going to close that up by clicking it. And then we're going to go back to our assets folder. And we're going to say create folder scripts. And we're going to double click on that, right click and say create C# script. And we're going to call it player control. Now you can't have any spaces or colons or anything you can't normally have in a file name. So I just stick with letters. Now we're going to be doing scripting. Don't worry, it's actually not as hard as you think. It's pretty easy. Okay? It's going to be okay. Alright. So now you're going to double click it and it's going to open up. Okay. Let's reopen it. Use original file. That was weird. That doesn't normally happen. So that shouldn't happen to you. Alright, so you don't really need to know what this means. This just declares that it's a class. And then I'll explain what this is. So this basically means everything inside of these curly brackets happens when the game starts. And this, it happens every frame. It's the update. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a couple lines, and we're going to say float player move speed. I want capital S there. Okay. Or sorry, no, we're gonna say public float move. For some reason it's not letting me do capital. There we go. Speed equals 10.0f. So what this means is public. That's the identifier. If it's public, you can see it in the inspector. So like if I select our main camera, all these variables that you see are public. And then float is a decimal number. So like an integer is a number with no decimal. A float is a number with a decimal. And then move speed, that's the name. And then we're saying it's equal to 10.0. Then you have to put an F on the end because it's a float. Alright. So, pretty sure that's all we need for, no, we need public float rotate speed equals 10.0f. And then we're going to make a private character controller, which if you remember, that's what we put on our player. Private character controller CC. And I'm pretty sure that's all we need. So, now in start, we're going to say CC equals get component character controller. So basically what this means is we're saying CC, which is our character controller, equals get the character controller component off of the object the script is attached to. So we're going to attach this script to our player object, and basically what it's going to do is it's going to say, okay, so we got to get this component and use it. And you have to do it with these brackets and then those brackets for reasons. Alright, and then in update, we're going to say cc dot, or sorry, no, we're going to say vector3 move parameters and a semicolon. So notice how we don't put a public or private thing here. Basically all it means is it defaults to private when you don't put anything in front of it. And then a vector3 is a position. So like this here, your transform, the position, that's a vector3. Alright, so I'm running out of time, so we're going to continue this in the next episode. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.